Hello, today we're going to read Dinosaurs by the Magic Treehouse, written by Will Osborne and Mary Pope Osborne. Chapter 1, A World of Dinosaurs. Long ago, the world was very different than it is now. Today, all the land on Earth is divided into 7 continents. Millions of years ago, there was just one continent. Scientists have named that ancient continent Pangaea. Some parts of Pangaea were very dry, like deserts. Other parts were damp and rainy, like swamps. There were forests and jungles, plains and mountains, rivers and lakes, and there were dinosaurs almost everywhere. Some dinosaurs were bigger than buildings. Others were as small as ducks. Some dinosaurs walked on all 4 legs like dogs. Others walked on 2 legs like people. Dinosaurs were on Earth for over 160 million years. Not all the animals in this picture were on Earth at the same time. Some dinosaurs had many rows of sharp teeth. Others had no teeth at all. But in some ways, all dinosaurs were alike. They were all reptiles. They all lived on land. They all laid eggs. They almost all had scaly skins. None of them had fur or hair. The Age of Reptiles. Scientists think that the first dinosaur hatched over 225 million years ago. They say almost all the dinosaurs died about 65 million years ago. That means there were dinosaurs on Earth for more than 160 million years. Almost all the dinosaurs lived during what is called the Mesozoic era. Scientists also call this time the Age of Reptiles, or the Age of Dinosaurs. Scientists divide the Mesozoic era into 3 parts or periods. The first is the Triassic period. The middle is the Jurassic period. The last is the Cretaceous period. Different kinds of dinosaurs lived in each period. The ones we know best today lived during the Jurassic and Cretaceous periods. That's over 60 million years before the first human was born. So how can we know about these dinosaurs? If no human has ever actually seen one. We know about them because they left their bones and teeth and footprints all over the world. Chapter 2, Fossils. When people find dinosaur bones today, they aren't really finding unchanged bones. They're finding fossils. Sometimes a dinosaur died near a stream or river. If the stream or river overflowed, the dinosaur's body would be covered by mud and sand. Over millions of years, the mud and sand turned into solid rock, and the dinosaur skeleton was still inside. The picture is of a T-Rex fossil found in Montana. At the same time, water in the earth seeped into the dinosaur's bones. Minerals in the water turned the bones to stone, too. So a dinosaur fossil is really a rock that used to be a bone buried inside another rock that used to be some mud and sand. Fossils can tell us a lot about dinosaurs. Fossil teeth can tell us the kind of food a dinosaur might have eaten. Flat teeth are good for chopping up plants. Sharp, pointed teeth are good for ripping flesh. Fossil leg bones can tell us how a dinosaur might have walked. Long leg bones are good for fast running. Short, thick leg bones mean the dinosaur probably moved slowly. Footprint fossils can help us guess how much a dinosaur weighed. Deep footprints mean the dinosaur who made them must have been very heavy. Shallow footprints mean the dinosaur must have been a lightweight. Footprint fossils can even tell us how dinosaurs traveled. Many footprints going the same way mean the dinosaurs were probably moving in packs or herds. Big footprints beside little footprints mean the dinosaurs may have been traveling with their families. Almost everything that we know about dinosaurs we know from fossils, but fossils can only give us clues about dinosaurs in the age of reptiles. We have to use our imaginations to picture how these amazing creatures really looked, how they lived, and how they died. Sets of dinosaur footprints going the same way, like these, are called trackways. Dinosaur babies. Fossils can even tell us about dinosaur eggs, dinosaur nests, and dinosaur babies. Dinosaur eggs were usually found in nests, but dinosaur nests are not like the ones birds build in trees. Most dinosaur nests were dug in sand or mud. Scientists say that some dinosaurs returned to the same nesting grounds year after year. The biggest dinosaur egg fossils ever found are about the size of a football, but the mother dinosaur that laid them was over 40 feet long. Why did huge dinosaurs lay small eggs? Scientists think that if dinosaur eggs had been bigger, the shells would have been too thick for baby dinosaurs to break out of. Chapter 3: Dinosaur Hunters. The first people who discovered dinosaur fossils didn't know what they were. The ancient Chinese thought they came from the skeletons of dragons. Native Americans thought they came from giant snakes. Other people who found fossils thought they came from very large elephants or even giant humans. In 1822, an English couple named Mary Ann and Gideon Mantell found some large fossil teeth near their home. Gideon took the fossils to a museum and looked at them next to teeth from other animals. Gideon didn't see any teeth that were like the fossils he and Mary Ann had found. He decided the fossils belonged to an animal that didn't live on Earth anymore. Gideon thought the fossil teeth looked most like giant iguana teeth, so he called the animal they came from an iguanodon. At about the same time, a professor in England named William Buckland was studying the fossil of a very large jawbone. Dr. Buckland decided that this fossil was also from an animal that no longer lived on Earth. He called the creature it came from Megalosaurus. That means big lizard in Greek. Nearly 20 years later, an English scientist named Richard Owen studied the iguanodon and megalosaurus fossils. He could tell that both these creatures were totally different from any animals still living on Earth. He decided that creatures like these should have a special name. Richard Owen chose a name that means terrifying lizards in Greek. The name was Dinosaurs. After these early fossil discoveries, people became very interested in dinosaurs. Scientists wanted more fossils to study. Museums wanted dinosaur skeletons to put on display. There was a race to find more bones. How dinosaurs get their names. Dinosaur hunters used Latin and Greek words to make up names for the different kinds of dinosaurs they discover. Some are named for the place where they were found. Alamosaurus fossils were found near the Alamo in Texas. Some are named after the person who discovered them. Marshosaurus was named for Othniel Charles Marsh, a famous dinosaur hunter. Some are named for the way they looked. Corythosaurus means helmet lizard. The Bone Wars. Scientists who study fossils are called paleontologists. Two of the most famous paleontologists were Othniel Charles Marsh and Edward Drinker Cope. They both were Americans who started hunting for fossils in the 1870s. Marsh and Cope were so eager to find new fossils that they became enemies. They hid their discoveries from each other. They sent spies into each other's camps. They even tried to steal each other's bones. These two dinosaur hunters fought for 20 years, but their bone battles led to the discovery of more than 130 different kinds of dinosaurs. Over the last 100 years, people have hunted for dinosaurs all over the world. Dinosaur fossils have been found on every continent and in almost every country. Each time a dinosaur hunter digs up a fossil, we learn a little bit more about the age of dinosaurs. Bone hunting tools. Dinosaur hunters use lots of tools. Here are some things they always take along when they go digging for fossils. A magnifying glass to examine small fossils like teeth. Camera to take pictures of the site and the fossils. Tape measure and ruler to measure the size of the bones. Field notebook to keep a record of the bones. A hammer, chisel, and pick to chip away the rock around the fossils. Safety goggles, a water bottle, work gloves, sample bags to collect rock samples and broken fossil pieces, brush to brush away dust and dirt. Bone hunter mistakes. Even famous dinosaur hunters sometimes goof. The name game. For many years, people visited museums to see a dinosaur called Brontosaurus. But O.C. Marsh, the scientist who named it, did not realize that he had already given a different name to the same dinosaur. Marsh's Brontosaurus was also missing its head, so he put the skull of another dinosaur on his reconstruction because he thought the real skull would look about the same. He was wrong. Finally, the name was changed back to Apatosaurus, and the head was replaced. The wrong end. Early in his career, E.D. Cope dug up the fossil bones of a giant sea reptile. When he put the bones together, he made a big mistake. He mixed up the tail bones with the neck bones, and he stuck the animal's head on the end of its tail. Horn or claw. When Gideon Mantell was studying iguanodon fossils, he thought one of the dinosaur's claws was a giant horn. He drew a picture of an iguanodon with its claw growing out of its snout. The wrong robber. About 80 years ago, dinosaur hunters in Asia found the fossil of a small dinosaur near a nest of fossilized eggs. They thought the dinosaur was about to raid the nest, so they named it Oviraptor, which means egg robber. But paleontologists recently discovered that the Oviraptor wasn't stealing another dinosaur's eggs. It was sitting on its own nest to help the eggs hatch. Chapter 4. Flesh Eaters. As dinosaur hunters dug up more and more fossils, they realized there were hundreds of different kinds of dinosaurs. Soon they started sorting them into groups. The simplest way to sort dinosaurs is by what they ate. Some dinosaurs ate flesh, others only ate plants. Yuck! Most people call flesh-eating dinosaurs meat eaters, but flesh eaters didn't eat just the meat. They ate everything: brains, bones, guts, and even eyeballs. How do we know what dinosaurs ate? Paleontologists use clues from fossils to figure out the kind of food different dinosaurs ate. Sometimes bones from another animal are found inside the fossil of a dinosaur. That means the dinosaur must have been a flesh eater. Some fossil teeth are short and flat. They wouldn't have been good for ripping flesh, so the dinosaur they belonged to must have been a plant eater. Sometimes the dinosaur's droppings were fossilized. If the droppings contained seeds, it means the dinosaur was a plant eater. If they contained ground up pieces of bone, the dinosaur must have been a flesh eater. Paleontologists think all of the very first dinosaurs were flesh eaters. The earliest dinosaur fossil ever discovered was from a flesh eater about the size of a goose. Paleontologists named this dinosaur Eoraptor. Eoraptor means dawn robber. Eoraptor lived on Earth over 25 million years ago at the dawn of the age of dinosaurs. Paleontologists think Eoraptor and other early dinosaurs probably ate insects and small lizards. Flesh-eating dinosaurs came in many sizes, but they all had a similar shape. The flesh eaters walked and ran on their hind legs. They usually had small arms. Most of them had long, strong tails. Their mouths were very full of very sharp teeth. Paleontologists think the flesh eaters hardly ever stood up straight when they ran. They used their tails for balance and leaned very far forward. Flesh-eating dinosaurs had different ways of feeding themselves. Some hunted and killed smaller dinosaurs and other animals. Animals who hunt other animals for food are called predators. The animals they hunt are called their prey. Other flesh-eating dinosaurs did not hunt their own food. They lived off the leftovers of the predators. These kinds of animals are called scavengers. Flesh-eating dinosaurs roamed the earth during all three periods of the age of reptiles. They were smart. They were fierce. They were fast. They were probably the scariest creatures that ever lived. Our favorite flesh eaters. Coelophysis. Coelophysis was one of the earliest dinosaurs. Paleontologists think light bones and long legs made Coelophysis a very fast runner. Fossil hunters in New Mexico have found dozens of Coelophysis skeletons on a ranch called the Ghost Ranch. Some people say that every night on the Ghost Ranch, Coelophysis ghosts come out and dance. Troodon. Paleontologists believe Troodon was the smartest dinosaur that ever lived. Its brain was very big for the size of its body. Troodon's teeth were smaller than a human's, but they had jagged edges and very sharp points, and Troodon was fast. Paleontologists think it could run nearly 30 miles an hour. The fastest humans can only run about 23 miles per hour. Velociraptor. Velociraptor had a long, sharp claw on each foot. It could tuck the claw up out of the way when it ran. When it captured its prey, it could bring the claw down to attack it. In 1971, dinosaur hunters found fossils of a velociraptor along with another dinosaur. The velociraptor was holding the other dinosaur's skull in a tight grip. It looked like it was using its special claw to slice into the other dinosaur's stomach. Baryonyx. Baryonyx had a snout like a crocodile's. It had twice as many teeth as many other flesh eaters, and it had a claw on each hand that was so long and sharp it was like a spear. Paleontologists think Baryonyx must have used its thumb spears to catch fish. Why? Because the first Baryonyx skeleton ever discovered had a half-eaten fish dinner in its stomach. Tyrannosaurus rex. T-Rex is the most famous flesh-eating dinosaur of all time. It had sharp teeth. Many were more than 6 inches long. It had a head the size of a bathtub. One T-Rex mouthful of food could feed a whole family of humans for weeks. T-Rex had big, strong legs, but its arms were so short they couldn't even reach its mouth. Paleontologists are still trying to find out how, or even if, T-Rex used its tiny arms. Gigantosaurus. So far, only one Gigantosaurus skeleton has been found, but paleontologists believe this giant flesh eater was even bigger than T-Rex. Dinosaur hunters are looking for more Gigantosaurus skeletons. It's possible that when they find them, Gigantosaurus will replace T-Rex as king of the flesh-eating dinosaurs. Chapter 5. Plant Eaters. The first, the fastest, and the smartest dinosaurs were flesh eaters, but the very biggest dinosaurs ate nothing but plants. The first plant-eating dinosaurs appeared on Earth several million years after the first flesh-eaters. Like the flesh-eaters, plant-eaters lived during all three periods of the age of reptiles. There were many more kinds of plant-eaters than flesh-eaters. Some made meals out of ferns and bushes. Others were tall enough to eat leaves from the tops of trees, but none of them hunted other animals for food. Plant-eaters. Many different kinds, some very tall, some short, none hunted other animals. They lived during all three periods of the age of dinosaurs, and not all of these plant-eaters lived at the same time. The biggest plant-eaters were the sauropods. The sauropods left footprints as big as truck tires. They have names that mean things like monster lizard and titanic lizard. For many years, paleontologists thought that the biggest dinosaur of all time was a sauropod called Brachiosaurus. Brachiosaurus was as long as 3 school buses, but now fossil hunters have found bones of 3 dinosaurs that were even bigger. Supasaurus, which means super lizard. Ultrasaurus, which means extreme lizard. Seismosaurus, which means earth-shaking lizard. We don't know much about these giant sauropods because only a few of their bones have ever been found. But some paleontologists think Seismosaurus might have been over 150 feet long. That's as long as 6 school buses. Was Seismosaurus the biggest dinosaur of all? No one knows. Dinosaur hunters discover new fossils every year. It's possible that any day they'll dig up the bones of an even bigger giant. Our favorite plant eaters. Stegosaurus. Stegosaurus was about the size of a minivan. It had 4 long spikes on the end of its tail. It had big flat plates growing out of its back. Stegosaurus had a very small head. For many years, most books described Stegosaurus as having a brain the size of a golf ball, but paleontologists now think that Stegosaurus's brain looked more like a hot dog. Ankylosaurus. Ankylosaurus was the size of an army tank and built like one. Its body and head were covered with armor. The armor was made of bone. It protected Ankylosaurus from flesh-eating dinosaurs like T-Rex. Ankylosaurus had a big club on the end of its tail. Paleontologists think Ankylosaurus used its tail club to smash the feet and legs of any dinosaur that tried to attack it. Edmontosaurus. Edmontosaurus also used to be called Anatosaurus. Edmontosaurus had a bill like a duck. It also had over 1,000 teeth. When any of its teeth wore out, new ones grew to replace them. Paleontologists believe that Edmontosaurus took good care of their babies. They protected their nests. They gathered food for the babies to eat. They probably looked after their babies until they were old enough to look after themselves. Triceratops. Triceratops had a face like a scary Halloween mask. It had a beak like a parrot's. It had 3 long horns. Paleontologists say that Triceratops used their horns mostly to fight off other dinosaurs that were trying to eat them. But they also think that sometimes 2 male Triceratops would lock horns and fight with each other over a female. Diplodocus. Diplodocus was a long, skinny sauropod. It had a long tail and very strong legs. Some paleontologists think Diplodocus could balance on its back legs and its tail, then stretch up to eat from the very tops of trees. Diplodocus ate almost all the time. Its mouth was so small compared with its body that it had to take hundreds of bites to make a meal. Brachiosaurus. Brachiosaurus looked a little bit like a giraffe. It had a very long neck and a small head. It had front legs that were longer than its back legs. But Brachiosaurus was twice as tall as a giraffe, and its nostrils were on the top of its head. Jack and Annie's Dinosaur Hall of Fame. The biggest head. Torosaurus. For years, scientists said a dinosaur called Torosaurus had the biggest head of any land animal that has ever lived. But new research suggests that what people once called Torosaurus was really just a fully grown Triceratops. Scientists think the adult Triceratops' head must have been about a third the size of its entire body. The longest neck. Mamenchisaurus. Mamenchisaurus was also a plant eater. It had the longest neck of any of the dinosaurs. Mamenchisaurus's neck was about 33 feet long. That's nearly half the length of its entire body. Jack and Annie's Dinosaur Hall of Fame. The biggest eyes. Dramacea Dramacea was a flesh eater. It was about the size of an ostrich, and it had eyeballs as big as oranges. If Annie's eyes were as big as oranges, she would look like this. The longest name. Micropachycephalosaurus. Micropachycephalosaurus was a small plant eater discovered in China. Its long name means tiny, micro, thick, pachy, head, cephalo, lizard, saurus. Chapter 6. Sea Monsters and Flying Creatures. Dinosaurs ruled the earth during the age of reptiles, but they weren't the only creatures around. Dinosaur hunters have also found fossils of many strange flying and swimming reptiles that lived at the same time. These flying reptiles are called pterosaurs. Pterosaur is Greek for winged lizard. Pterosaurs had wings made of skin and bone. Each wing was attached to a very long finger. The finger stretched all the way from the pterosaur's hand to the tip of its wing. Sometimes the finger was more than 10 feet long. Paleontologists think most pterosaurs flew by stretching out their wings and floating on the wind. There were also several types of swimming reptiles during the age of dinosaurs. Ichthyosaurs had long beaks and looked like big-eyed dolphins. Mosasaurs looked like giant swimming lizards with long toes and webbed feet. Plesiosaurs did not look like anything on Earth today. Some plesiosaurs had short necks and long jaws like crocodiles. Others had long necks and small heads like the giant sauropod dinosaurs. Flying creatures. Pteranodon. Pteranodon had a long beak and a long bony crest on the back of its head. It probably needed the crest to help balance its beak when it was swooping down to catch fish. Quetzalcoatlus. Quetzalcoatlus was the largest creature that has ever flown. Each of its wings was about 20 feet long, as big as a small airplane. Swimming creatures. Ophthalmosaurus. Ophthalmosaurus was an ichthyosaur with very large eyes. Paleontologists think its big eyes helped it see in dark ocean water. Elasmosaurus. Elasmosaurus was a plesiosaur. Elasmosaurus's neck made up more than half the length of its entire body. Paleontologists say Elasmosaurus may have hunted for food by swimming around with its neck sticking out of the water, looking for fish near the surface. Chapter 7. What happened to the dinosaurs? Dinosaurs lived on Earth for millions and millions of years. Then almost all of them vanished completely. What happened? Why did they die? No one really knows for sure. Scientists call an explanation that has been well tested a theory. There are a few theories that explain why dinosaurs are no longer on Earth. The changing climate theory. For many years, most paleontologists thought the dinosaurs disappeared very slowly. They thought they died out because of climate changes. Paleontologists who accept this theory think that the Earth's climate began to change at the end of the age of reptiles. As the climate changed, the world of the dinosaurs changed too. Paleontologists who agree with the changing climate theory say that many dinosaurs couldn't adapt to the changes. They think that over the years, more and more dinosaurs died until there were none left. They had become extinct. The asteroid theory. The changing climate theory was popular for a long time, but many paleontologists now have another theory. They think the dinosaurs were wiped out much faster. Their theory is called the asteroid theory. An asteroid is a rock from outer space. Paleontologists who support the asteroid theory say a big asteroid hit the Earth at the end of the age of reptiles. They think the asteroid was over 5 miles wide. An asteroid that size could kill all the animals within hundreds of miles of where it landed. When it hit the Earth, it would send a giant cloud of dust and smoke and ash flying into the air. The cloud would stay in the air for years. It would block out most of the sunlight. Without sunlight, the Earth would get colder. Plants would die. Some dinosaurs would freeze to death. Others would starve. Soon they would be all gone. For many years, paleontologists who accepted the asteroid theory wondered where the giant asteroid might have hit the Earth. Now they think they might have found the spot. Scientists have discovered a crater in the Gulf of Mexico. The crater is 120 miles wide. It is buried half a mile deep in the Earth under the ocean. The crater is full of the same kinds of minerals that have been found where smaller asteroids have landed. Today, most paleontologists agree with the asteroid theory, but it still has not been proven completely. We may never know for sure why so many dinosaurs vanished from the Earth. The death of these strange and wonderful creatures is one of the biggest mysteries of all time. More dinosaur mysteries. Paleontologists have been studying dinosaur fossils for almost 200 years, but there are some things they still wonder about. Case number 1, seeing red. What color were dinosaurs? Were they brown and gray, or were they bright red, green, yellow? Were they spotted? Did they have stripes? Most fossils can't answer these questions. But many paleontologists think dinosaurs might have been as colorful as today's lizards and snakes. Case 2, an age-old riddle. How many years did a dinosaur live? 10 years? 30 years? No one knows for certain. Many paleontologists think some dinosaurs lived to be over 100 years old. Case 3, two-ton tutors. What kind of sounds did dinosaurs make? Did they roar like lions? Did they honk like geese? Hiss, chirp, growl? Paleontologists can only guess based on the shapes of dinosaurs' heads and bodies. Some dinosaurs had bony tubes on their skulls. Paleontologists think they might have tooted their tubes like bugles. Chapter 8, Dinosaur Neighbors. Most kinds of dinosaurs are no longer on the Earth, but several kinds of creatures who lived among the dinosaurs are still with us. Lizards were the favorite meal of many small flesh eaters. Paleontologists think today's lizards are almost exactly the same as the ones that lived during the age of reptiles. The first turtles were also on Earth with the dinosaurs. They looked a lot like turtles today, except some were much bigger. Paleontologists have discovered the fossil of one turtle that was over 12 feet long. Crocodiles also lived during the time of dinosaurs. Most were about the same size as crocodiles today, but dinosaur hunters have found one crocodile skull fossil in Texas more than 6 feet long. That means the crocodile was probably 5 times as big as crocodiles today. The creatures today that are real dinosaurs, though, are not lizards or turtles or crocodiles. They are small creatures you see every day. They're right outside your window or in your backyard. They're birds. Paleontologists think the first birds appeared on Earth during the Jurassic period. They were a form of flesh-eating dinosaur. The first clue came when a puzzling fossil was discovered. In 1861, workers in Germany dug up the fossil of a small skeleton. The skeleton looked as if it belonged to a flesh-eating dinosaur, but when they looked closely at the stone around the fossilized bones, they saw imprints of wings and feathers. Paleontologists named this creature Archaeopteryx. That means ancient wing. Today, the Archaeopteryx fossil is one of the most valuable fossils in the world. In recent years, scientists in China have found many more fossils of dinosaurs with wings and feathers. These discoveries have made the link between birds and dinosaurs even more obvious. How did birds, crocodiles, turtles, and lizards stay alive when so many dinosaurs died out? No one knows. It's another mystery that dinosaur hunters and paleontologists of the future will have to solve. It's possible the answer is out there right now, buried in the mud somewhere, waiting for you to dig it up.